Hello, everybody, and welcome to Interesting as Fuck. Thank you all for joining us again on this magnificent episode where we are going to be exploring our doc is in for today. We're really excited. It was a great documentary. It was definitely up my alley in the sense of very, suspenseful but still fun and still trying to figure out how the pieces fit. So as it's Elaine and Linda here again today, and we are going to be chatting about our documentary, which is Man on Wire. I want to always add the and that's not right. But essentially it is a documentary on Netflix. It's streaming on Netflix, so I think it's Netflix produced. And it came out in 2008. Won a bunch of awards, I believe. Made a good amount of money, so $5.3 million, and it's all about 1974 high wire walk between the Twin Towers in New York. And for those of you listening, those were the towers that stood before 9/11, and now is the World Trade Center. So it's one. So a man called Philippe Petit did a high wire act between the two towers. And this documentary talks all about that experience. And just as a reminder, Linda, had never seen it before, and Elaine had. And of course, she's our master of documentaries. And I will hand it over to her, and I will then again, of course, talk about the what the fuck meter and my initial impressions of this documentary that I will say I will watch probably multiple times again.
Yeah, it's so good. It was the first movie to ever have a 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating. Um, and it's just I forgot like all the emotions I went through watching it because I've only ever watched it once, and I watched it probably 15 years ago because the movie is from 2008, right? So it's from a while ago. Um, but like I love the build up in the beginning. So it's kind of paralleling like our what politics was like at the time, Richard Nixon. And for those of us who grew up in this time, pre 9/11, like the only things we ever heard about the World Trade Center were terrorist attacks on it. And so it's almost like building up this tension as if this is another story like that. Because it starts immediately with like political stuff. Richard Nixon's in it, and they're talking about like, if you have no idea what the story's about, you're like, what is happening? Because they're talking about like bringing in equipment and how they have to dress like Americans and dress like workers because they're building the World Trade Center still. And so it's got this like tension almost of like a terrorist attack coming. And then what I think it turns into is just like, this is also a time, this movie came out in 2008. It's 7 years after 9/11. Also, everything we ever saw about the World Trade Center, of course, mentioned 9/11. This movie to me, like I always end up sobbing, like literally from like the moment they start building the Twin Towers. There's that one photo of him like 3/4 of the way along the wire, and there's a picture of a plane in the background, and I fucking lost it again, like this time around watching that scene. Um, because everything we see about the Twin Towers is 9/11 related. And this movie feels like such a beautiful, oh my God, I'm going to cry again.
Yeah, no, I'm about to
Such
cry.
a beautiful tribute to those buildings. And like they represented so much more than what happened to them.
And
And everyone inside and the whole city of New York. And it felt like this beautiful tribute where we were still so fresh off 9/11, and they didn't mention it once. Like they really could have gone into like, you know, Philippe talked about the conquering he wanted to do of that building and what they meant to him. And he's just been so in love with them. And, he talks about how like that moment is just his, and to never have that moment again. They could have gone and said like, well, now they're not even there anymore. So of course no one's going to have that moment again, but they didn't. And I actually love that there's that like unspoken tribute to these buildings. and all the people who worked on it. And it's just, there's is so there's so much to this movie, and I love the music, the tension they build, the pictures they have, like everything about it is just so fun, I think.
And I think to your point, it replaces our memories a little bit
Yeah.
about the World Trade Center, like buildings, like the Twin Towers. We we're in college, right? In college or about to get to college.
Yeah,
And
high
it was
school, late
a
high school. Yeah.
see, I'm
As
a
a
little older
junior.
than you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a little older than you. So
Yeah.
I was I was at GW.
Nice.
Um yeah,
Nice.
at the
Yeah, you were
moment
probably a
that it was.
freshman.
Yep, at the moment that it happened, I was on campus. It was bananas, but I think this movie for like an hour and 30 minutes, however long it was, kind of made me forget that. It made me
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, this is bigger than that just very very sad and traumatizing event." And the thing that I kept thinking about, which is obviously trigger warning everybody. So you know that picture of somebody jumping off?
Yes. Yes.
It
Yes.
replaced that for me, because
Yes.
that for
Good.
me is a very
That's the
intense
most
picture, and
traumatic.
it's the
It's
most
the most
traumatic
traumatic
one.
picture. I couldn't believe, I
But
still can't believe to this day, 25 years later, that they printed those photos, but that's
and
another
we
time for
still
another story for
and
another time.
we still don't know who that is, but I think in a
Nope.
way there's a parallel to that, right? Taking control of your destiny, and I think that's what Philippe did, right? He took control and kind of used a dream that he had, seeing the buildings in a fucking dentist's office going,
I know.
this is amazing. I'm gonna rip this page out of like that was like it was like rip a page and I'm gonna cough and nobody's gonna notice. I was like, we were so innocent back then. And I
I
think
know.
it kind of gave us back the innocence a little bit and excitement about these buildings rather than being sad and traumatized about it, which is something that I really appreciated. I think that was what struck me, at least subconsciously, the most. That
Yeah.
I didn't think of 9/11 the whole time.
I did, but in a I didn't think of 9/11. I thought of the Twin Towers, and I
Yeah,
thought of
exactly. Like
I
it.
grew up I grew up about an hour outside New York City. My mom was there on September 10th, and the scene, she took a picture. Actually, she was like, oh, I'll never forget. She came home and she's like, I tried to get these like cool pictures of the Twin Towers, but it was kind of foggy. So I took them anyway because they did look kind of cool. So the scene where they look up and like you can't see like half the towers because of clouds and mist, like my mom has that same picture from
Oh
September
my
10th,
god,
2001.
that's
Yeah. So like,
insane.
yeah. And we just like, honestly, like I remember growing up, people didn't think of them as necessarily an eyesore, but they were like, meh,
Meh.
whatever. Like,
I remember. Yeah, I
there they
remember that.
are. Like, you know?
That whole discussion about how not like they didn't fit or whatever, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like
So yeah.
cringe, very cringe.
Yeah. So yeah. So to me, like you're right. I didn't think of 9/11 until that one picture pops up.
Yeah.
I thought of the Twin Towers, and really like when you get like the close-ups of like the buildings themselves, like they were actually pretty. Like they were their own pretty thing in their own weird art deco kind of way. Um, and maybe if they were still standing, I don't know if we would think that way, but like, I don't know. I just thought this movie serves as like a beautiful tribute to them and just like such a different story. And the what the fuck for me is that that happened. And like, I, I feel like unless you were there, like I never fucking knew until I saw this movie that someone had fucking tightroped between the Twin Towers.
In
Also,
1974?
I know. And also, like, some of the what the fuck to me, too, is like, these are just a bunch of like fucking
Randos.
guys just
Randos.
who, who made this architectural physics like problem work and the weather worked out because like it can get real fucking windy. Like just being between those two buildings makes it a wild wind tunnel.
Right.
So like all of the stars aligned for them, truly. And it is absolutely insane to me that this is something that happened. And I love listening to the cop because
Yes.
he's like, we kind of like, listen, we got to arrest this guy, but like, this is a once in a lifetime kind of thing. This is fucking wild. So I love the cop too. When they're like, and when the reporter, when he's like, they charged him with trespassing and like,
And the archival footage of the cop going, well, because he's a Frenchman. I'm like, what?
they were
But I
speaking
love
French because he's a Frenchman.
Frenchman. I was like, well, yeah. Um, but it was just, and I also loved how it was about the relationships
Yes.
between
Yes.
all of the actors. Um, and you really see, and I think the thing that also got me the most was the breakup of the relationships because of
Yeah.
this like once in a lifetime thing where everybody just kind of broke apart because of it, because of the weight of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, that's something that it happens to us all the time. We stop talking to people for whatever reason, our relationships break apart. Um, and it seems like people were really affected by that. I don't think they even really realized the effect of it until they were talking about it, and it feels like they were processing it as they were talking about everything that happens.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's one of the things that I think struck me the most, at least in relation to this, to how we're talking about connection and how connection matters, is that we really need to understand relationships really well. And when, maybe relationships have run their course, right? So that's something that I find. And very interestingly enough, the woman is the one that is the most mature about the
Shocker.
end. Shocker. About the end of the
Shocker.
relationship. How serene was she? Was she like, well, yeah, sure, he cheated on me, but the
It was
relationship
time.
had run, it
Yeah.
was time. Peace. And you're like, okay.
Can you imagine though, like how great of a storyteller is Philippe, right? Like he's up there, like he's clearly an entertainer, right? Can you
Yep.
imagine? Like one of the things I can't get out of my head too is like the way he tells a story and like how passionate he is about literally whatever it is that he's talking about. Like how amazing must those love letters have been that he wrote to Annie?
I
I
know,
can't, like
and that
I
I
need
hope
to
she
read
kept
them.
them. I hope she
I
kept
know.
them. And then the way that he was like, "Well, if I die, what a great way to go." I was like, "Dude,
That's how
I don't."
that's how I am every time I get in the water with sharks and everyone would like if so I don't think we've mentioned this on here yet,
We
but
have
like
not.
I'm a big shark person and anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with sharks. My husband and
I
I
am
have been
not. I'm not a shark person.
my husband and I have been diving with 9 different kinds of sharks. None of it has ever happened in cages. It has all been open free-water swimming with them. And if people ever like if I died doing that, everyone would be like, "A fucking course she did," and at least she was doing so. So I kind of get it. Like I kind
I'd
of get
I'd
it.
I do I what is it? A eulogy? I would eulogize you and
Eulogize.
go and just go, "What the fuck?" And but she died doing what she loves.
What the fuck? But also like, of course she fucking did.
At least she's happy with the sharks in the sky now. Well,
Yes. Uh, yeah. So I kind of get that. Like I kind of get it. I'm not saying I
yeah,
would want to
I
fall to my death, but
yeah. But I feel like that's like one of the things that you kind of say after the fact. I don't know if he really thought
100%.
that at the time because he was like, "Oh, they saved my life by like plucking me off like on the plane," and you're like, "Well, you didn't want to die then, buddy."
Right. Right.
But yeah,
I, yeah, it's
but
just
I
it's great. I love it.
I I thought it was so like Ocean's 11y too. Like
Yeah, heisty, like you said. Yeah.
have like heisty and like making it super interesting in how they related to each other and how the different emotions about the stunt was. Because essentially he was the only one that was going to do it, but the other, his associates were going to are kind of responsible. He needed help to like,
Yeah. Oh, you
set
can't
shit
do that
up.
alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that was, the partnership of it and the strain of it, of how kind of getting all this set up was just, very like Ocean's 11y to me. And I
Yeah, and
love that movie.
they're always tied together by this. Like even if they don't speak anymore, like they will always have this connection over this event.
Always. Yeah. I love how it was like, oh, I was expelled out of the United States. I'm like, well,
I thought it was kind of harsh. Like, yeah, I would agree. I would agree that
yeah,
was harsh.
you did shit. But was he banned permanently? That is, I don't remember.
I don't think he didn't say that, but
He just
I
said he was
also love,
expelled. Like,
yeah, he just said he was expelled, but I loved that shortly after that they showed like, but Philippe at the same time got like a permanent pass
permanent.
to the World Trade Center and they were like, do not collect.
Yeah. And then he signed one of the beams. It's
So
really,
that was another point where it hit me where I was like,
yeah, it's
I
not
went
there
like that
anymore.
must have gone down with the towers too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just this, I don't know. That's where my brain went, just because it's hard for any of us who lived through that, regardless of how close or how far you lived from it. Like,
Oh
we
yeah.
all
It
experienced it
was a
that day.
moment. And and in a way, a lot of it was kind of the death of innocence.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this movie kind of brought it back a little bit to like have a
Yeah.
dream and have passion and not be kind of marred by the bad things that happen in life. I mean, bad things
Yeah.
always happen, right? Like it's really how you react and how you deal with it and who the people are that are around you to help manage it, because you can't manage things on your own all the time.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's why I think this movie was such a gift,
Yeah.
because it kind of gave you this back a little bit to go, yeah, you can dream, and things change sometimes, and sometimes things are sad, but sometimes things are really great too. So I think that was the what the fuck meter in that sense, where like I couldn't believe something could give me an innocence about this particular thing again.
Yeah.
And I think you have to watch it, and if you haven't watched it, that and you're our age, around like you remember 9/11, where tell us in, an email or comment or whatever, if that, if you felt that, because I think the both of us did, and it was just a gift. I
Hmm.
think it was
Yeah.
really a gift. And again, the fact that the only it was a passing mention that they're not there anymore, right? It was not even like
They
I
didn't
like
go
it
there. They
was
really don't go
they didn't
there.
go, and I love that. I love that
Yeah.
they
Me
didn't
too.
go there.
Me
That
too.
and that and I think that was the gift, because they could have easily like put two pictures together. Like they could have done it visually. They could have done like so many things to like bring us back there, but they didn't. And I really, really appreciated that. And yeah, sorry, I was about to cry again.
You
The
can't
look
see
on
it,
my
but there's a face.
the,
It's making me.
the look on my face is real sexy right now. As opposed to say that. But yeah, I don't know. It was truly a gift. And then, I think I think the what the fuck meter is more of like ironically a good thing. And it was
Yeah.
like it was a real 10, because I never thought I would be able
I'm
to
I'm marking it
feel.
down. I'm
You
marking it
should.
down as a 10.
But, like,
Wow.
there should be a note to it, because it's, like, not, what the
Happy
fuck, where
10.
like, it's a happy 10, where I'm like, "Wow," like, now my memory of the Twin Towers will now not just be sad. Like,
Yeah.
and that's such a gift, because I it was just yeah. So that there you have it. There's my what the fuck meter, but it's a happy one. So I love that we have nuance in the what the fuck meter.
Yeah. Too. Like, also, this is our fucking show. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Fuck that. Shared reality. Read Homo Sapiens by Yuval Harari. So that's my book recommendation for this week. That's not romance, just so everybody knows.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
but that's the thing. Our shared reality, as Yuval Harari says, like humans, went to the top of the food chain because we could construct a shared reality.
Yeah.
And the Twin Towers was a shared reality, and how they went down was a shared reality, and now the Man on Wire is another shared reality that we can kind of superimpose on.
Which, by the way, I love and forgot from the first time around that that Man on Wire, the title of the documentary, comes from the police report, and I love
Yes,
that.
yes,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that so much, like so much.
Yeah, and I know that he wrote a book, and I really like I was looking at it. To Reach the Clouds was the title of the book.
Mhm. That's
Which
nice
was,
too.
yeah, I like that. And I love how whimsical Philippe is. And
Yes.
like most of it, you want to be angry about him. Like you want to be angry, but you
Yeah.
can't be because he's so
No.
whimsical and so sweet. And you don't know if this is a facade or not, but this is what you see. Um, and it's just like you can't fault him for anything. Even though he did bad things and he did, questionable things, you're still like, no, I get it. Like, those dreamers, like the
Oh
dreamers, like
yeah.
the true dreamers that can't be marred
He's
by
one of them.
anything. He's 100% one of them.
I don't know. I think the only time I got mad at him is when he cheated on Annie. Cause like I can't honestly say that I'm mad at him. Like I'm like, obviously he trespassed. Obviously he broke into freaking Notre Dame. Like he broke into several places that you should not break into. But at the same time, I'm like, but he did it to provide something beautiful for people. Like he didn't do it just to do it. Like there's a this I'm not calling this out as our next one, but there's definitely a
Oh, what
documentary I'm
are
going to
you?
add to the
What
list.
are you?
Well, maybe. You know what? Fuck it, let's do it. Because
Fuck
I
it.
literally was like, fuck it, let's do it.
All
It's
right. What is it?
it's the Spider-Man of Paris. It's either the Spider-Man of Paris or the Spider-Man of France. This is also on Netflix. This is I said we were gonna like I was gonna stop doing this, but I'm not gonna fucking stop doing this,
Don't
clearly.
do it.
Um
Be a dreamer.
because I think this will actually be really fun to follow up this one with, talking about, first of all, they're both French. Um, Secondly,
It is the
the
Spider-Man
different,
of Paris.
it's heisty. Both are heisty, and one of them is
Ooh.
good, and one of them does stuff that is not good. And so I think it'll be a nice contrast between the two, because to me, yes, he's trespassing, yes, he's breaking in, but he's doing it yes, he's also doing it for very selfish reasons, to just fucking do it, right? He's like, these twin towers are mine, like I'm doing this. But it did provide
Right.
something joyful for people. It didn't cause anybody harm, and the intention was never to cause anybody harm, except for maybe himself, of course. I don't know. I was never mad at him until the cheating. But even Annie was
And
like, yeah, it's time. Eh.
but I like how French, how French.
Oh,
Um,
fucking French. I love it.
and I so I what did I'm a rule follower till a fault, right? Like I love rule following and I love it, and I'm like, what are you doing trespassing? Like, but then I'm like, again, like he does it for like really cool things. And by the way, we're doing Spider-Man of Paris because that fucking looks awesome.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
it's really good.
um, a
It's really
museum
good.
heist in Paris. I'm
Uh-huh.
all over that.
We may start on a particular trend with this one, because I already know would be the
Then
perfect thing to follow it up with.
we
But
go with the other heist, like
Isabella
museum
Stewart
Stewart.
Gardner,
Exactly. I was
my
gonna say.
favorite.
So
That's what I'm thinking.
as we are planners, you have your next two.
Yeah, perfect. And the This Is a Robbery is a 4-part documentary.
Oh,
So it's like,
perfect.
so to plan that far ahead is actually probably a good thing, but goddamn, it's so good. It's so bingeable. Anyway, to one point I will make when we say it's so French is, this makes me think of like when my mom was texting me during the opening ceremonies, and she's like, this library scene's getting a little spicy. And I was like, Mom, it's menage a trois in every language. It's so fucking French. Of course it's
French.
fucking French. So that just popped into my head as an afterthought when you said like how French.
How French. And yeah, I don't know. you kind of like, as a rule follower, I'm a big rule follower, and I was like, oh, he's doing all this stuff, but you can't hate, like, you can't not
Yeah.
like him. Like, even for like the cheating, I was mad at him for that. But then he was like, oh, I was wrong for that, but I had to like live life and the adrenaline. And I'm like, I kind of get that, but yeah, I'm glad Annie got the fuck out of there. Um,
Yeah, for
but yeah,
sure. Also, I want to point out because this popped into my head. This is y'all are getting a really good like insight into how my brain fucking works. When we talk about like trespassing in Notre Dame and the Twin Towers, like it was the 70s. Like these are the days of DB Cooper. You know what I mean? Like you could fucking get on a plane and be like, you're gonna open the
nope.
door at 10,000 feet and I'm gonna hop out. Like
Peace.
I got a bomb. Like this is
Yeah,
the type of
yeah.
shit that went on in the 70s. Like we're at the height of serial killers. We're at the height of like the most craziest shit you've ever heard in your life. So
It's
for
because
someone
not everybody
to
has a
be doing
camera.
this,
Not
right,
everybody has a
right,
camera in the 70s. We don't know, what most of us are doing. We don't have cell phones. We can just,
right.
you know, I don't know.
But there also
It's
weren't the security measures
yeah,
in
exactly.
any sense anywhere with
Anywhere
things like that. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about the loss of innocence in 9/11. Like it changed the way we fly around the world for
around the
everyone.
world.
Like you could just get on a plane. Like you could walk with your person to the fucking gate without a ticket
Yes, I
before
remember that.
9/11. Me too. You could go to the gate and pick somebody up without a ticket. You could just buy a plane ticket that day.
And wave at them as they, like, jump on the plane,
Like
and you watch it roll away.
all those
Even
scenes in like all those movies where they're running until the end of the terminal. It's like that shit don't happen anymore. What the fuck are you doing?
does not happen anymore. Like, remember that Liz Lemon episode where he, like, she, like, has to buy a ticket, and then
Yes.
she eats the
Eats the
sandwich?
sandwich. I can't have it all. Oh my god.
"Oh, lady, you're eating foil." And fuck yeah, I would eat the sandwich.
That sandwich looks so good. And whatever that sauce
So
is, like,
whatever
ugh,
that sauce is.
so
Do we
good.
need to go drinking with the Teamsters to know what that do we
Yes.
know what that sandwich did they ever, like, talk about it in the lore?
No, but to me, it sounds like, to me, it looked like some kind of really good Italian sandwich with like roasted red peppers and mozzarella and, ugh.
I f I feel like if I emailed Tina Face people and, like, the sandwich place in
Can we
episode,
please
"I
tell
wanna
us what the
have it
sandwich
all.
is?
Can you please tell us what the sandwich is?" So here, if Tina Fey actually listens to this, please tell us what the sandwich place is.
We would
We're
die.
we
We
would
would
die.
die if she listened to
We
this.
would buy a plane ticket today to go tomorrow because obviously we can't buy a plane ticket today
That,
to go
yeah, no,
today, but we'd buy
accurate.
within 24 hours and then just,
We could buy a
in
train ticket today.
ooh, we could buy a train ticket today, but
We're
I
not
would
that far
barf.
from New York. Oh, that's
But I
true. We
would
could drive.
barf.
We could drive. We're
Yes,
not that
I'll
far from New
drive.
York.
I'll drive.
Done.
Done. All right. So that's bucket list item number 45, right after dance in a Bollywood movie for me. Find out what these places at 30. I really want to be a background
I
dancer for a Bollywood movie. That would be awesome.
love it.
But speaking of dreamers, Philippe, I think, gave us an important lesson in fucking shoot for the clouds, man. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Like, you want to
The worst.
be interesting and do something interesting to talk to people
Yeah.
about.
The worst that could happen is you
That's
fall to your
nice.
death. I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding.
That's nice and doesn't hurt anybody. Just, disclaimer
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think
No,
that's
I agree.
I think we need a little bit more of that right now.
Amen.
I think there's a lot of people that feel very disheartened and very hopeless. And I
Yep.
think back to the 70s. Those weren't good times, man. Those were not good times.
No, I'm pretty sure
People
they were still rationing gas in 1974.
exactly. So we've been through a lot. We will continue to be through a lot and we will still regain our innocence and I think regain our hope a little bit. Um, and remember, I think if we talk it out, again, not everybody's going to agree with you. And if you need to draw the line with somebody, do it. If it's not, if you can't talk to a person because of something they did, like walk across the twin towers on a high wire, don't do it. Um, but I think we all want a better place for everybody. I think sometimes we don't know how to get there. Um,
Hmm.
but I think if we, you know, keep that hope alive, we'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed.
so I think that's, kind of our doc is in for today. I think it was a great one. It was just I've almost cried, like, I think 3 times on this one because I like, the thing that struck me again was the fact that I kind of regained my innocence about these buildings
I
a
love
little
it.
bit. And then,
I think this is the most feel good one we've done thus far,
yes,
looking
agree.
back
This
at our
was
list.
super feel good. Super feel
Yeah.
good. At first, I was, like, really anxious about it because I was like, "Oh my god." But then I'm like, "Oh, I feel good." Like you said,
Yeah.
like, the buildup wasn't build up in, like, roller coaster sense. It was buildup of,
No.
like, good feelings. It was just good
Yeah.
and good and good and good. It was just a really good exercise in that, I think.
Yeah,
And
and then, like, this it's like the second he got on that wire, it's like you
it's
felt the
so
tension, but it was like euphoria. It's like you
yeah.
felt what he felt. I love the way they built that for
Yeah, and
everybody.
the fact that you could feel that, I think is just
Yeah.
another, testament to how good this documentary was made. I think
Yeah.
it's very rare for a documentary to make you feel good because usually documentaries are really, like, sad and make you feel,
Dark.
like, dark and make you, like, but this was an
'Cause they're
exploration of
exposing
the
something. Usually it's like
exactly.
an exposé, right? So, yeah. No, I
And this one
agree. The
was
next one will
really
not feel as great, but still fun. It's got an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not 100,
awesome.
but still pretty good.
So remember, it is the Spider-Man of Paris, or Le Marinier de Paris, as they would say in, French. Um, and it looks really good, and it's got everything I want: a heist, a museum, and Paris
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
in.
I'm gonna add a note here because I can already hear, and if this is like preemptive of me, mostly because I'm thinking of the way I think of like Giada De Laurentiis when she does the accent stuff. I want everyone to know that Linda is originally from a French speaking country. So, under no circumstances is anyone allowed to give her shit for actually pronouncing these words correctly because I'm
You
going to butcher the fuck out of them. And I took French for 8 years and I'm terrible. But so, I just want to put this disclaimer out here that no one is allowed to give Linda shit for, like, the way that some people give Giada De Laurentiis shit for saying Italian words properly in Italian. I'm
well,
just going to throw that out there.
I will say though, let's be real though. Giada De Laurentiis about I did not do that on purpose. But I will say the way she drops it is just like feels like so
Yes.
like exaggerated.
Forced. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you do it like her. I just feel like in my
Yeah,
head I'm like someone's going to come at her. But
yeah.
I want people to know you are from a French speaking country. You
Yes.
speak French in your home.
All the time.
Like your first language was French, correct?
One of
So,
them, yeah. I
no
had
one
2
no one is allowed to come at you for it.
no one. And even if you
You can come at
do
me for it.
just know I will yell at you in French about it. Just reply in
Please.
French,
Oh my god,
and
please
then you have to
do.
Google
You
French
have to
it.
Google
You have to Google
translate it.
translate.
Fuck
Uh,
off.
yeah, fuck off, or va te faire chier, as they would say. Um, so we got that one, and then we will have a regularly scheduled episode about um the magnificent thing that is called the third place. And join us next time to understand what the third place is, how it fits into connections, talking to people, being interesting. And we will talk about that next episode. And then after that will be our doc is in again, which will be the Spider-Man of Paris, continuing on
Woot
our
woot.
little heist and French. He spoke French because he was a Frenchman, theme here. Um, and as always, thank you so much for joining. If you have questions, what that sandwich place was on 30 Rock in that episode
You
that one
know,
time, if you know,
if you
let us
know,
know.
please share.
Please share. And then, again, any corrections, any things that you want us to talk about, we're always happy and we're always here. And Elaine, close us out.
Stay interesting.